everybody, this is Diana from So Very Crafty, and today we are here to make a beginner sewing project, and that is this gorgeous Japanese bento bag that anybody with beginner sewing skills can make. If you can sew a straight line or cut a straight line, you can make this terrific bento bag. It is just that easy. So how do we do it? Well, let's get started. The first thing that we need to do is we need to cut out a long piece of fabric that measures 12.5 inches wide by 36.5 inches long, and that's going to be our fabric. Now, I have lined my bento bag because I am using some batik that I really like for this project. So I have cut 2 pieces of my 12.5 by 36.5 piece of fabric. Now, one little tip here for making this bento bag, and that is you can make it any size you want. Just make sure that the length is 3 times the width, and you can make it any size you want. So for our purposes today, we are using the 12.5 by 36.5 inch width and length to accommodate our 1/4 inch seam allowance. So for all of the sewing in this project, we will be using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now, the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to sew these 2 pieces together, right sides together. On the batik, there really isn't a right and wrong side, so we're just going to sew these 2 pieces together, but we are going to leave a little bit of an opening so that we can turn our fabrics right sides out so that we do not have raw edges. So let's head over to the sewing machine and let's get that done. Here we are at the sewing machine, and we are going to sew our 2 fabric pieces right sides together using just a straight stitch. And again, we are using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So we're just going to, I'm going to start about halfway down my long side because I know that I am going to have to leave an opening for turning this particular piece of fabric because I have 2 pieces that I want to turn right sides out. So we're going to start about halfway and we're just going to stitch. Now when we get to the corner, we are going to drop our needle down, turn, so we have a nice crisp corner, and continue on our way. And we are going to do that all the way around our project. Stop, turn, and continue on our way. Now we are on the edge that we started. Remember that we need to keep an opening here. So I'm going to stop right about here, and I'm going to back stitch and clip off my threads. Now all we have to do with this piece is turn it right sides out. And we're just going to reach in this opening and turn it right sides out. Now, as you can see, I have turned this right sides out, so we have a seam all the way around. I'm going to take this to my iron and I'm going to press the seam so that it's nice and crisp, and then we are going to top stitch all the way around this bag. And I'm going to just be back in a moment after I've pressed this closed, and we will get going on our next step. Okay, so now we're back. The next thing that we do for our Japanese bento bag is we are going to take the right side of our long piece of fabric and we are going to fold it in a third. And I have my handy dandy ruler here, and I'm going to measure 12 inches because I know that 12 inches is 1/3 of 36 inches, which, since we have completed our seam allowances, which were 1/4 inch on each end, this now measures 36 inches. So 1/3 of 36 is 12. So I'm going to measure 12 inches, and that's 12 inches exactly. And I'm going to head over to the sewing machine and I'm going to stitch just the bottom right along the top stitching here, using the 1/4 inch seam allowance that we use for the top stitching, and we're only going to stitch the bottom. So let's head over to the sewing machine and we will stitch the bottom and come back. Okay, so now we're back. We are going to stitch the bottom part of our bento bag right along the top stitching, because we don't want any more stitching than we need to have in this. So let's start along and just sew this bottom third on the bottom right along their previous stitching using your 1/4 inch seam allowance. And you're going to back stitch on this corner because it's going to get some wear. And that's it for this. Okay, we have now stitched the bottom part of our bento bag, and now we are going to just fold that part down, the top part of the bottom where we sewed, and we are going to fold over the left side of our bento bag so that it covers the third, and it's going to measure 12 inches, which we know it's going to measure 12 inches because it's another third. And now we are going to stitch just the top part of this bag right along the seam, or right along the top stitching that we previously stitched. So you'll have a nice guide to do that, and we'll come back for the next step. Okay, so now we have what looks like a square piece of fabric. What do we do next? in a way, our bag looks like a bento bag, but we are going to do something with these corners. We are going to take each of these corners and we're going to use our handy dandy ruler. We're going to measure down 3 inches and make a mark. And I'm using this orange pen, and we're just going to draw a line, a straight line, right across this. And we're going to repeat that on the other side. Here's our 3-inch mark. We are going to draw a line, and we are going to go over to the sewing machine and stitch right along this line on both sides, making sure that we don't catch any of this part of the bento bag. So let's head over to the sewing machine, sew those lines, and I'll be right back and we'll finish this bag. Okay, now we're back and we are going to sew right along the line that we drew. I'm going to do a little back stitch here and sew right along this line. And do another little back stitch. We're back over to our other corner, and we are going to do exactly the same thing. Okay, now let's head back over to our workspace and we're going to finish this bag. Okay, as you can see, we have stitched right along our corners here and here. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to take out a pair of scissors and we are just going to cut off this excess fabric about 1/4 inch from the end. And do the same on the other side. Now all you have to do is turn your bag right sides out. And you have completed your Japanese bento bag. How easy was that? All finished. This was a super simple beginner sewing project that is perfect for carrying just about anything, especially a bento. So if you like this project, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I hope you enjoyed it. Perfect for beginner, great bag making project. And again, subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up for this. And head over to www.sewverycrafty.com if you want more sewing and crafting projects. And look at all my other videos for some great video tutorials on how to make simple sewing projects. Thanks everybody, and goodbye.